Have you ever felt watched, not by a person, not even by an animal, but by something that should not be alive? Something carved in silence, that breathes without breathing? I thought statues were nothing more than stone. I was wrong. I should probably start at the beginning. My name doesn't matter, not really. What matters is what I saw, and what I can never unsee. It was early autumn when I first came to the village. A small, forgotten place on the edge of a vast forest and an even vaster lake. I had been traveling for work, documenting old ruins, churches, forgotten relics of history. Places that time had abandoned, but that people still whispered about. The villagers were kind enough, though cautious. They told me not to wander too far into the old quarter, especially after dusk. They didn't explain why, and I didn't press them. I've learned that rural places carry their own weight of superstition. But curiosity has always been a curse of mine. That's when I first saw it. At the edge of the abandoned quarter, where the cobblestone streets cracked into dirt paths and houses collapsed into heaps of rotted wood, there was a square. And in the center of that square stood the statue, a giant figure carved from black stone, its surface cracked like veins spreading across its chest and shoulders. The face was human, yet not. The proportions were almost perfect, but there was something in the features, too rigid, too stern, that gave it a cruel expression. Its eyes, even though they were hollow, they carried weight, like empty sockets that somehow still focused. I remember shivering, though the air was calm. I told myself it was just art, just some forgotten monument of the village's past. But as I set up my camera, documenting the cracks and moss creeping up its torso, I felt something I cannot explain. Like the moment before lightning strikes, your hair rising, your skin tingling, your heart racing for no reason. And then, the sound. It was faint at first, like stone grinding against stone, a shift so subtle I thought it was my imagination. I froze, listening. But the square was empty, silent. I forced myself to laugh. "You're getting paranoid," I muttered under my breath. But when I turned to leave, I could swear the statue's head was angled differently, slightly lowered, as though it was watching me go. That night, I couldn't sleep. My room at the inn felt colder than it should have, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw the cracks along that statue's body glowing faintly, like embers beneath the stone. At around 3 a.m., I woke up to a sound, not outside, not from the street, but from the corner of my room, grinding, stone against stone. My chest tightened. I didn't want to look, but I had to. In the corner, nothing, just my travel bag, my coat hanging from a chair. Shadows stretched long from the candlelight, and yet, I could feel it. That weight, that gaze. I got no more sleep that night. The next morning, I tried asking the innkeeper, a frail old woman with sharp eyes that seemed to pierce through lies. "There's a statue," I said casually, sipping the bitter coffee she'd served me. "In the old quarter. What is it?" She froze, just for a second. Then her hands tightened around the mug she was holding. "There is no statue," she said flatly. I frowned. But her gaze snapped to mine, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "We don't speak of it. Not here. Not ever." And just like that, she turned and walked away. The rest of the villagers avoided the subject too. Whenever I mentioned the old quarter, they changed topics. Some even walked away mid-conversation. That silence, it only made my curiosity burn. So I went back. 3 days later. This time, I went prepared. A lantern, my notebook, and a stubborn determination that I now regret more than anything. The square was deserted, just as before. The statue loomed in the center, its stone skin cracked deeper, as though the veins of rock had spread. The air around it felt thick, like the weight of a thunderstorm. I approached slowly, every step echoing. My lantern flickered, though there was no wind. Up close, I noticed something new. The cracks across its chest and shoulders weren't just random fractures. They formed patterns, symbols. Carvings so faint, they almost blended with the stone itself. I reached out, tracing one with my fingertip. The moment my skin touched the cold surface, my body jerked violently, like a current of static surged through me. And then, I heard it, a whisper. So soft, I thought it was the wind. But the words were clear, carried inside my skull. "Leave." I stumbled back, my lantern nearly slipping from my hand. My breath came fast, my heart hammering. The statue hadn't moved. Its face was as cold and empty as before. But in that instant, I knew that I wasn't alone in that square. It was watching me, and it didn't want me there. That night, the dreams began. I saw the statue towering over me, its eyes glowing faint blue, its stone lips parting just slightly. From the cracks in its chest, light spilled out, pulsing, breathing. And then, in the dream, it moved. Slowly, deliberately, stone limbs grinding, cracking as they bent, and it stepped down from its pedestal. When I woke up, I was drenched in sweat, gasping, my heart clawing at my chest like it wanted out. But the worst part wasn't the dream. The worst part was the dirt on my shoes. Fresh mud. As if I had been outside. As if I had gone back to the statue in my sleep. I didn't tell anyone about the mud on my shoes. I told myself it was a coincidence. That maybe I had walked outside without realizing it. Sleepwalking. It happens, right? But deep down, I knew. I knew it wasn't me. Something was pulling me back to that square. The following days blurred together. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus. Every reflective surface, my mirror, a glass of water, even the lens of my camera, showed me something strange. A shadow behind me. A glimpse of stone, like the faint outline of the statue's face, staring over my shoulder. Once, I heard the grinding noise in broad daylight, clear as thunder. I spun around, heart in my throat. Nothing moved, nothing had changed, yet the sound lingered in my bones, as though my own skeleton had remembered it. The villagers had noticed my condition. They looked at me differently, their polite smiles gone. Some whispered when I walked past. One man, drunk and bold, grabbed me by the arm outside the inn. "You need to leave," he hissed. His breath reeked of alcohol, but his eyes burned with fear. That thing. It doesn't forget once it's seen you. It doesn't forgive. I tried to ask him what he meant, but he pulled away and refused to say another word. That night, I locked my door, double-checked the windows, tried to convince myself that I was safe. But at around midnight, I woke to a sound that turned my blood to ice. Footsteps. Not soft ones, not human ones. Heavy, dragging, like stone grinding across cobblestones. And they were outside my room. The lantern beside my bed flickered. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to stay still. I didn't breathe. Didn't move. The footsteps stopped just outside. I don't remember moving. Don't remember how I ended up pressed against the far wall, clutching my lantern like a weapon. The handle twisted once, twice, then stopped. The silence stretched on until I almost believed I had imagined it. But when I finally dared to look at the door, I saw something that made my knees give out. A crack. Thin, jagged, glowing faint blue, running down the wood like lightning. The same glow I had seen in my dreams, bursting from the cracks in the statue's chest. And then, nothing. When morning came, the crack was gone. The door was whole again. But I knew it hadn't been a dream. My hand still shook. My lantern was still lying shattered on the floor. I couldn't stay inside anymore. I had to see it with my own eyes. So against every screaming instinct in my body, I returned to the square. The statue was waiting. This time, there was no denying it. The cracks across its body glowed faintly, like veins filled with fire. Its eyes, those hollow, empty sockets, seemed deeper, darker. I felt them pulling at me. And then for the first time, it moved. The shift was small, almost imperceptible. Its head tilted. Not much, just enough. Enough to acknowledge me. I staggered back, my breath tearing out of my chest, but my legs wouldn't obey. I couldn't run. I couldn't even blink. I was trapped in its gaze. And then I heard it again. The whisper, clearer this time, inside my skull, vibrating against my teeth. You should not be here. My body convulsed, and blood filled my mouth where I bit my tongue. I dropped to my knees, clutching my head, trying to block it out. But the voice was everywhere, inside, outside, above, below. You belong to me. I don't remember leaving the square. All I know is that I woke up hours later, lying in the forest at the edge of the village. My notebook was missing, my lantern gone, but carved into the dirt beside me was a symbol. The same symbol I had traced on the statue's chest. Fresh, perfect. And when I stumbled back to the inn, the villagers wouldn't look me in the eyes anymore. I think they knew. They knew the statue had chosen me. From that night on, I was never alone. Even when my room was empty, even when I traveled far from the square, I felt it. Watching, breathing, waiting. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear the grinding again, closer and closer, like it's just behind the walls. Sometimes I wake with dirt under my nails, as if I've been clawing at stone. And sometimes I dream of becoming like it. Skin cracking, eyes hollowing, breath turning to dust. And in those dreams, I'm not afraid, because in those dreams, it feels inevitable. I left the village, or at least I tried. Packed my bag, took the earliest road out, never looked back. The villagers didn't stop me. They didn't even say goodbye. Some watched from their windows, eyes dull, resigned, as if they'd seen this before, as if they knew it wouldn't matter. The further I walked, the heavier I felt. Not tired, anchored, as though invisible chains wound tighter with each step. The world itself seemed to resist me. By nightfall, I was miles away. I thought I'd escaped. I even allowed myself to breathe. To believe. But when I awoke at dawn, stiff and sore in a ditch by the roadside, my heart stopped cold. Because there, just ahead of me, standing in the misty gray light of morning, was the square, the same cracked stones, the same crooked fountain, and the statue, waiting. I screamed until my throat tore. I clawed at my own skin, desperate to wake up, but this wasn't a dream. I knew it now. The statue wasn't in the village. The village was in the statue. I was inside it. From then on, time lost meaning. Days, nights, none of it mattered. Wherever I ran, the square followed, the statue followed. I tried to fight it, tried not to look. But every time, my eyes betrayed me. My gaze locked to those hollow sockets, and in them, I saw my own reflection. Not as I was, but as I was becoming. The cracks on its body grew deeper, brighter, searing blue fire pulsing like veins. And sometimes, just at the edges of perception, I swore I saw it breathe. One night, the voice returned. Not a whisper this time. A roar that shook the ground beneath me. Do you understand now? I fell to my knees, sobbing, blood running from my ears. What do you want from me? I screamed. Why me? The air grew heavy. The square trembled, and then in a voice that was not sound but thought, not heard but felt, it answered. You saw me. That was all. That was enough. Because I realized the truth in that moment. The statue doesn't choose. It doesn't hunt. It waits, and the moment someone looks too long, listens too closely, wonders too deeply, it sees them back. The nights became unbearable. Sleep no longer brought rest, only visions. My skin splitting like stone, my insides hardening, the world around me calcifying. The villagers' faces frozen in silent screams, trapped forever in rock. And worse, I felt myself agreeing. The more I resisted, the stronger it pulled. The more I fought, the deeper the cracks spread across my own skin. I could see them now, faint blue lightning crawling up my arms. On the final night, the square was darker than I'd ever seen it. No moon, no stars, only the glow of the statue's veins pulsing like a heart. I stood before it, broken, trembling, unable to look away. And then, it moved. Truly moved. Not a twitch, not a tilt. It stepped down from its pedestal. The ground split, stone shattered, the air filled with the smell of burning earth. It loomed over me, vast and silent, a god of ruin. My body collapsed under the weight of its presence. My lungs wouldn't obey. My eyes burned, but still I could not close them. The cracks across its chest flared, blinding blue. The light poured into me, through me, filling every nerve with fire. I felt myself unravel. My body broke, but I did not die. Instead, I became still, heavy, solid. I was changing. The last thing I remember, the last thing that was truly mine was the sound, that grinding, ancient sound of stone shifting against stone. Only this time it came from inside me. Now, I don't know how much time has passed. Days, years, I don't move, I don't breathe, I don't eat. I simply stand. I watch. I feel the wind and the rain wear against my surface, but I do not decay. My skin is stone now, my eyes hollow, and yet my thoughts remain. That's the cruelest part. I am still here, trapped in silence, frozen in the square, waiting, watching, for the next traveler who looks too long.
subscribe to Horror Story Bar.